Welcome to the Soul Infused Monday show. Another new day, another new Monday to raise vibration, to connect to consciousness and truth, and to set the tone for the rest of the week. So, I always know it takes a moment, so if you're already watching, just take a deep breath. Allow yourself to settle in. Allow yourself to become present. Become still. Relax. Take a moment to just connect to yourself while we're waiting for others to join us in today's episode. And if you're already here and you want to invite someone, if you're live on the show, invite a friend. And if you're watching the replay, leave me a comment below. Leave me a comment below, say hello so I know you're here. Hi Lynn, good morning. Great to have you here today. So, I'm going to talk today about the difference between pain and suffering and how to actually end the suffering. And the Soul Infused Monday shows are really designed to help you connect to the real you, to the soul, to the truth, to change your vibration or to shift your energy and to unplug from the outside and go more inward. Hi Linda, good morning. And well, it's not morning there anymore, but good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And before I talk about the difference between pain and suffering, I want to make a distinction because they're different depending on from which perspective you look at it or from which plane you look at it. You are not your body, you are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings. That's all part of the experience, and you are so much more than that. And you're not only physical. Hi Jean. If you're just jumping in, leave a comment below, say hello, click the love and like button. Today's topic is the difference between pain and suffering and how to end the suffering. So, and I was just about to say, so you're here sitting in your physical body with your personality, with your feelings, with your thoughts, with anything that's going on right now. Whatever craziness, messed up thing we have in our life that we experience. And on the other hand, you are a spiritual being. You are an energy being. You are consciousness that lives on a non-physical plane, that is above, that is beyond you, that is, for lack of better words and just not to go into too much detail, is outside your physical body above, right? So when I talk about pain and suffering is in the level, hi Barbara, you did find me. Pain and suffering is on the level of the personality, on the level of our physical body. Some might call it ego, I call it personality with all its different parts and selves. And from a soul's perspective, there's no such thing that pain and suffering, but the experience of it. Okay, so I just want to make that distinction. We as humans, we experience pain and suffering big time, in many different ways. And in a moment I'm going to make the distinction between pain and suffering. But just to give you an example, we here in our human body, we experience pain and suffering, despair, joy, happiness, all spectrum of life. From a soul's perspective, it is always an experience. There's not good, not bad, not wanting, not wanting. It's an experience, okay? So, and this is relevant for later, so keep that in mind. What's the difference between pain and suffering? What do you think? What's the difference between pain and suffering? And just leave a comment. Like, what do you think? What's the difference between pain and suffering? Okay? From your own perspective. So, for me, the difference, and of course, I'm sharing this today with who I am today. I've been on the journey for over 23 years now, doing deep inner work, like diving up, down, right? Like, from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, of darkness, of despair, of not wanting to live anymore, from loving life as I could never even imagine, right? So I've been on the journey for a long time, and I grow and I learn every time. So no week I am the same person. Every week you see me, I've already evolved from the last person I was. So I'm sharing this from today's perspective, and maybe in, future times, I add different things to it. Lloyd is saying, hi Lloyd, attaching to the pain is suffering. Good one. So, from a personality perspective, human perspective, there's pain and there's suffering. So pain is inevitable, by the way, for a human experience. And although we all have suffering and experience suffering in some way, that's actually optional and not necessary. So let's say pain, you lose someone you love. Or let's say you don't lose this person, but the personality takes it as that. But let's say you have someone in your life that you love, and this person is gone for whatever reason. Through death, through separation, through something else. That's a pain that we experience in our heart, like sadness, grief. That's a pain that we experience, and that's a pain that we can face, and it takes time to go through that pain. That's an example of pain. Suffering, on the other hand, is a recurring, constant revisiting of something that happened either in the past or a worrying in the future, an attachment to certain beliefs or pains, resistance. All of that creates suffering. That it's not necessary. Pain is part of our human experience. There is no way, in my experience so far, as a human being in incarnation, as a soul. And that's okay. Pain is okay. We can deal with it. Pain doesn't create the suffering. We can move through the pain. The suffering is a stuckness, is a revisiting, a vicious cycle. An example could be if you're revisiting like the same thoughts over and over again. Like, why is this not working for me? What's wrong with me? I'm not good enough. And we believe those wrong or those false beliefs, and we're listening to those voices inside ourselves, actually, and outside. And you're not in the present moment. Does that make sense so far? Hi Linda, hi Tamira. So, suffering can also be, for example, when you feel the pain, or that there's pain, and because the psyche believes it cannot bear it, or it's too difficult to bear it, we try to get rid of it, we try to numb it, we try to run away from it. Running away from facing a pain is suffering. I'm going to say that again. Running away from facing or being with a pain, a real pain, is suffering. Because you're running away from something that is inside of you that wants to be explored, and you can't really run away from it. And in order to run away from it, we use addiction, strong emotions, anger, blaming, being focused on the outside versus inside. And so it's important to understand the difference first. Don't worry about the how to and what to do next. You don't have to do anything right now. You don't have to do anything right now. Just let it sink in. And you might have heard this before, and yet there is no such thing as too much repetition, and it will sink in a different way. I've been on this journey, as I said, for over 23 years. I've been teaching for over 18 now. And I am still, as a human being, exploring and experience that. Even in the last couple of weeks, I've been facing depression, overeating, loneliness. I had days where I did not get out of bed because I felt that way. The difference is how I deal with it now. But I'm saying that it happens is not the challenge. What happens to you? Nothing happens to you, in my opinion. Everything happens for us. But it's not what happens on the outside. It's how we deal with it. Okay? So to experience that is one thing. To resist it, to try to run away from it, is what causes us to suffer. Okay? Does that make sense? Let me know if this is resonating with you. And I'm checking here the comments here real quick. And if you have any questions, of course, let me know. Pain is actual, suffering is a choice. Yeah. And when we say that, you're absolutely true, Jean, and I want to make sure that it's an unconscious choice. You're not waking up in the morning saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to suffer today. No sane person wakes up in the morning making a conscious choice. And I'm saying this to you if you've been on the path for a long time and you are taking responsibility and you understand that what the outside is not what's causing you the suffering, that it comes from inside. So if you are that person and you've been on this journey for a long time and you take responsibility and you know it's a choice, it's very easy to go into suffering there too, because then you tell yourself or you listen to that voice that is telling you, yeah, you should know better, you know it's a choice, what's wrong with you, blah, 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 you should just let it go and surrender. That choice doesn't come from a conscious place. That's an important distinction. Does that make sense? It is absolutely true that is coming from a place of false belief. It comes from your false self, like a wrong belief. It's not your true self. Your true self, your soul, does not make a choice to suffer. And if you hear this and you start judging yourself for understanding it but still not living it, this is going to cause more suffering. So be aware of it. Nothing you have to do right now than being aware of it. Stop anything you're doing. Look at what's happening inside and dare to look at it and see it. So that you can that you can make the difference between, is this a real pain that I want to explore and hold space? Or is this a suffering that I'm listening to some voices in my head that I'm identified with? Okay? And no matter how long how enlightened someone is, how along on this journey, and I wish that more teachers out there and gurus and, however you want to call yourself, spiritual teacher, we label it so that the mind can understand it. And I've been teaching for a long time. And yes, I wish there would be more transparency, because it doesn't mean that when you get a certain level of consciousness and you are connected with your soul and you know who you are, that the human being is not having those moments of growth by experiencing pain and suffering and addiction or whatever it is for you, right? So take a breath. Just take a deep breath and let that all sink in. And there's nothing for you to do at the moment. Just letting the understanding sink in deeper and to be willing to look at it, to look at your inside, to look at the voices, to look at what you're listening to day in, day out, anytime you feel like you suffer. You can do it right now. What are the voices right now? And then you wanna, and we're shifting a little bit between the difference and how to end. And I'm talking about how to end the suffering, right? Not the pain that we experience as human beings, because that's okay. And pain, by the way, the pain that I described in the beginning, like the pain and not the suffering that I'm talking, has beauty because it comes from a real place. And our conditioning about that being a bad thing is what causes actually to suffer and not see the beauty in the pain. When you allow yourself to really be and hold space with your pain, the sadness, you are actually connecting closer to your true self than many other times. And I rather be in pain and cry and feel it than be in constant suffering. That doesn't mean I'm not in suffering sometimes. I still am, because I'm a human being. And that's okay. It's awareness. Awareness is the key. Does it make sense so far? Do you guys have any questions? Okay, so let me check the time. Okay, still have a few minutes. Take another deep breath. Just take a breath. And on your spiritual journey that you are in some way or another, otherwise you wouldn't even listen to me or you wouldn't resonate with me in some way, right? It doesn't matter how far along you are. It doesn't matter what we might believe or not. It's like the most important work is the inner work. The world that you are responsible for is your own inner world. And I know that in my community I have so many, because like loving, caring, amazing people, but often caring too much on the outside and not caring enough on the inside. To end suffering, and listen up to this, to end suffering, you gotta end first your own inner suffering. It's so simple, the mind doesn't even want to have it that way. The mind will resist it. The mind will say, yes, but, and this, and that, and you will listen to this always. Be very mindful, be very watchful, be very vigilant. To stop the suffering, you gotta stop your inner suffering that you do have and you want to watch. You don't go out trying to fix the world if you don't go inside to discover yourself first. Fixing the world is an escape to fixing your own. I mean, I don't believe there's fixing needed. And humanity as a whole, we are not ready for that shift yet on a whole collective level. And at the same time, I believe that every individual alone that chooses, that has the bravery, that has the courage, the willingness and the desire to really know yourself, discover yourself, your true self, and to connect to a higher consciousness, to your higher self, to your soul, and live it. Every individual who's willing to do that helps to resolve the suffering in the world. I am giving you things to reflect on, to meditate on, to tune in. I can say so much more. I mean, there's so much more to say, and at the same time, I want to keep it simple and not to feed the mind too much. The mind needs a plan, right? Being with what is, learning the art of being with what is the path to end suffering. And it takes a lot of practice. You gotta learn it, and I'm still learning. Like I'm taking actually time right now to remove myself from other things on the outside, including my business. I'm reducing the people I work with. I'm reducing the things that I'm doing. I've been on my inner work journey for so long, and I've been teaching now for so long. Again, I've been teaching for 18 years now, and even though I'm still gonna be doing that, I feel the urge on a higher level to tune in more and to get to a next level of my own self-discovery, own self-mastery, and to become a student again on a different level. So it doesn't matter where you are on your journey. I invite you to do less on the outside. Besides the things that you gotta do, of course, you know, you gotta, whatever things that we gotta do, you know, like cook, clean, pay the bills, and, you know, like work, whatever it is that you do. But stop as much as you can trying to change the outside, try to control the outside, try to change other people, try to help other people that might not even want your help. And fix something on the outside and turn inward. Turn inward and face and be willing to get to know your inner suffering. Take a breath, take a deep breath. Relax, drop in, become present right here, right now. Start to listen and observe. Don't fight the voices. Don't try to get rid of them. Get to know them so that you can separate the truth from the false or from the lies that you might believe. Take time by your side to go inward, meditate, connect up. Not by bypassing, you can't bypass. If you've been long on the journey, you've been on the spiritual path for a long time, and you kind of have already like gained whatever you experience as your level, and you think, hey, I don't need to go deep in there, I just go up. Don't bypass, doesn't work. The more you allow yourself without judgment to be in acceptance with everything there is, including the suffering, including addiction, addictive behaviors, negativity, painful thoughts, whatever it is, you hold space and look at all of it. And that will help you to connect and be present with who you really are. And that is, in my opinion, or my belief so far, the biggest contribution to ending the suffering in the world. Imagine for a moment, I know it's not happening yet, but just dream with me for a moment before I bring this to a close. Imagine everyone, every single person in this world would right now take a moment to go inward. And every single person would stop controlling the outside, would try to fix something on the outside, would try to get something on the outside, and would just drop in to connect to themselves, to connect to their hearts, to connect, to be present. Imagine for a moment the bliss and the joy and the peace that we will have. Hey Alyssa, hi, yes, definitely listen to the replay. So, tune in to just stay here, relax. If you have a question, let me know. I just want to go over the questions or the comments and see if there's a question. And be aware that I read all of your comments, even if it's afterwards or during, even if I don't address it individual, all of it. But I read them all. And especially if you have a question, I will answer it. So while I do that, I want you to tune in and just think for yourself, what is the most valuable thing that you're getting out of this today? What are you hearing me say that is landing? What's your biggest takeaway? Tune in for yourself. Just ask yourself and leave me a comment if you want to. Yes, it is a big help beginning to breathe again. You make sense. Thank you. Takeaway. I can only be responsible for my own inner world. Great takeaway, Jean. Super, super great takeaway. I choose to move on from recent inner suffering. You have given me a lot to journal and meditate on this week. I love it. Yeah, that's what I want. Like, take it. Like, you know, listening is great. Tapping into the energy is great. And connecting to the higher consciousness is great. And at the same time, explore it. Tune in. Meditate on it. Journal on it. Whatever works for you. Amen to this. So much of this landing today. Not always cognizant of being human. Thank you, Sonia. Spending time with is important. Love you. Yeah, thank you, thank you. How do you suggest working on inner pain within yourself? Meditation, journaling. Great question, Tamira. I get this question a lot. So here's my answer to this. The how-to right now is not too important, is the decision that you make to do it. And it sounds like more simple than you think. It's like, oh yeah, but I'm doing it already. No, there's a level of commitment to inner journey, to your own inner exploration that you get to. When you have that inner commitment, desire, and declaration, like it's like, I'm gonna do this no matter what. Once you have that first, you will find the right people to do that. Meditation and journaling is to support the process. It's not gonna help you resolve the deeper inner issues, because we are too blind to ourselves. We are too resistant to ourselves. So you wanna find someone to work with if you're serious about really doing that deeper exploration. Find someone that you resonate with. Sometimes find someone who takes you where you don't wanna go. And use meditation and journaling as supporting your process. And if you are in a point where you don't want to invest in doing so, then choose as many free resources as you can, and there are so many, including I have so many. And then commit to a daily self-discovery journey. That can be meditation, that can be journaling, that can be listening to teachings, that can be listening to certain podcasts and trainings. The Soul Infused Monday show is a really great resource for that. And one resource, and I can put the link in here, I did 2 years ago in the summer called Soul Infused Summer. That was a 10-day training. I evolved big time since then, over the 2 years. However, the content is still relevant. So I'm gonna put the link here in the comment section. Soul Infused Summer. It will help you to kind of start the journey. But I want to be very clear and very transparent, or very honest with anyone on this journey. True transformation, to discover yourself on the depth that you might want to discover yourself and you haven't yet, you will need someone to help you through that, because we don't dive alone as deep as someone helps us. Okay? I hope this makes sense. Doing my best to stay in the present moment. Yeah, Lynn, I know, and I'm with you. You're doing great. I love the way Brian Katie puts it. If you argue with reality, you will lose it, but on the time. Yes, I agree. Pain is almost constant, but suffering is optional. Yes, great takeaway as well. My takeaway from this is tuning inside and being in the present. Our thoughts are our choices. Yes. I'm just getting off of my worry wheel. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, worrying is suffering. Not necessary. When you worry, just as a little hint, I like to remind myself of this wonderful quote I read many years ago. It's like, worrying is like a rocking chair. It keeps you moving, you know, takes you nowhere. And when you think of that image and you catch yourself with worrying, stop it. Thank you, Sonia. I'm glad you're safe. Thank you. Yeah, the storm is over. Forget about it. It's all good. Past from the past. Ideal time to read Soul Infused Summer. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, great. So, thank you for being here today. If you have not posted your takeaway yet, leave it. And I tell you why. First of all, tune in, become clear of one real great takeaway. When you are aware of it in your mind, it anchors it. When you put it on, if you write it down, it helps you to anchor it even more and put the awareness and the intention. And someone reading it, you will help someone that's like, oh my God, that resonates with you. Right? So what's your biggest takeaway? Leave a comment below. And if this was valuable for you, 2 things. Come back next Monday and share this with a friend. That's it for today. And if you want to sit with me another 30 seconds to just tune in, do so. And if you are leaving, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to see you again next Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern for a new episode for Soul Infused Monday. So just gonna take you on a 30-second journey. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. And I see one last question that I want to answer while and you can stay in or you can stay out. I'm very sick with Crohn's and the gut and the brain are married. How can I handle the depression? You don't handle the depression. Depression, I've been depressed for most of my life and I revisit it every couple of years. So I know I'm not saying this out of a handbook, I'm saying this out of experience as much as I can. I don't have all the answers for you, I just have the answers for me and I'm sharing them with you. There's still resistance about being depressed. And I understand. Allow yourself to be in acceptance and in love. And if love is too much, drop the love. Just be in acceptance that there is resistance that your humanness is experiencing. And trying to get rid of the depression is still avoiding to look deeper of what we're listening deeper in. And I know this because I just did the last couple of weeks. I revisit depression that I felt like, wow, how can I still have that experience? I might have not all the answers for you. However, what's coming for you and anyone is like, take the pressure off. Allow yourself to really surrender. Sometimes we try, but as long as we are not really okay with being depressed in that moment, you're still fighting it. I know it's easier said than done, and I know you know this, and I know you've been on the journey for a long time. So from my heart to your heart, be with it in a different level that you've been before. Allow yourself to accept it on a level that you've never done before. Allow yourself to look at it and trust in a way that you've never done before. And when you do that, you will hit a pain that you've never visited before, on a depth that you've never visited before. And it will be painful, and I can really feel it. And it will be painful, and there will be tears, and yet if you allow yourself to feel the pain without the suffering, you will connect on a deeper level with yourself that you've ever done before. And I know you're a Taurus, I know you're persistent, and persistency is going to be the key, but not the hard pressure, not the with pressure, just persistency. I hope this helps, Alyssa, or anyone else who resonates with it. And I just posted the link for the Soul Infused Summer. The Soul Infused Summer was a 10-day training where I share a lot about the inner work journey, the energy-based inner work that I've been doing and that I teach and go with my clients through. And it's a 4-step process, and in those 10 days I share and teach a lot about that. So if you want to go back and do that, just watch one video every day, and in 10 days you will have a great level of understanding or even transformation. So, okay. Yes, I do know her work, Rita. I once interviewed her, by the way. It might be somewhere. Okay, so I am jumping off, and I'm always staying. It helps Ryan to say, I'm happy to hear that, Alyssa. I always stay longer if I know there are questions. I'm closing it off for now. Come back next Monday. Know that you're loved. And you're not alone. And you're so much more. Namaste. Bye. Much love.